Welcome. Your video follows. Tonight, in one of the world's most critical waterways, the balance of power is being tested. Warships are maneuvering at close range. Runways rise from reclaimed reefs. And the South China Sea is fast becoming the front line of 21st century geopolitics. This is not a distant, regional dispute. What happens here could reshape global trade, international law, and the future of great power rivalry. The rising tide in the South China Sea. The temperature in the South China Sea is rising, and fast. The United States is stepping up freedom of navigation operations, sailing warships through contested waters to challenge what it calls unlawful maritime claims. China, meanwhile, is entrenching its presence. Artificial islands have been transformed into fortified outposts equipped with airstrips, surveillance systems, and missile defenses. At stake is far more than territory. Nearly one-third of global maritime trade flows through these waters. They sustain regional fishing economies and may hold vast reserves of oil and natural gas. Recent encounters underscore how close this region is to crisis. Near collisions at sea, laser incidents, and diplomatic protests following expanded Chinese patrols. Each incident increases the risk of a single mistake. One misjudgment, igniting something far larger. ASEAN bamboo diplomacy. Under pressure, 10 Southeast Asian nations facing an uncomfortable reality. Their strategy is known as bamboo diplomacy. Flexible, adaptive, and designed to bend without breaking. Rather than choosing sides, ASEAN seeks stability through neutrality, emphasizing economic cooperation, dialogue, and consensus over military confrontation. This approach is not new. It emerged from the Cold War, when alignment with either superpower carried enormous risks. Today, it has been repurposed for a new era of US-China competition. In theory, bamboo diplomacy allows ASEAN to remain united and relevant. In practice, the pressure has never been greater. The economic gravity of China and America's response, economics, lie at the heart of ASEAN dilemma. China is now ASEAN's largest trading partner, and Beijing's Belt and Road Initiative continues to pour billions into regional infrastructure, ports, railways, and energy corridors. For many Southeast Asian governments, these investments are indispensable. But Washington is pushing back. The United States is advancing its Indo-Pacific economic framework, expanding security cooperation, and offering alternative investment pathways. Still, the math is unforgiving. ASEAN states must weigh long-term strategic independence against short-term economic necessity, often making different choices at different speeds. The result is a fragile, balancing act. Cracks in the ASEAN United Front. That balance is beginning to show strain. ASEAN is not monolithic. Some members are direct claimants in the South China Sea. Others see little benefit in confrontation and much to lose. Countries such as Cambodia and Laos, widely viewed as closer to Beijing, have at times blocked stronger collective statements, weakening ASEAN diplomatic leverage. Meanwhile, pressure from both Washington and Beijing continues to intensify. The danger is clear. ASEAN risks being divided, not by internal conflict, but by external competition. Beyond diplomacy, what comes next? Looking ahead to 2026 and beyond, analysts see several possible futures. The most likely scenario is continued, low-level confrontation, naval shadowing, diplomatic standoffs, and incremental shifts on the water. But the risk of escalation remains real. International law offers limited restraint. In 2016, the Permanent Court of Arbitration ruled against China's sweeping maritime claims, a landmark decision acknowledged by some, dismissed by others. Enforcement, however, remains elusive. The question now facing Southeast Asia is stark. Can bamboo diplomacy survive in an era of open great power rivalry? Or will ASEAN be forced to rethink its strategy as the South China Sea does it grow more militarized and more dangerous? The South China Sea is no longer a simmering dispute. It is a strategic crossroads where economics, security, and sovereignty collide. What happens next will not stay confined to Southeast Asia. The consequences will be felt far beyond these waters. The rising tide in the South China Sea, the escalating geopolitical chessboard, US freedom of navigation operations meet China's island building and militarization, creating a powder keg in one of the world's busiest shipping lanes. Why this maritime flashpoint matters to everyone beyond territorial claims. We're talking about a significant chunk of global trade, vital fishing grounds, and potential resource reserves. Recent incidents spotlighting the tension from close encounters between naval vessels to diplomatic protests over expanded Chinese presence in disputed waters. ASEAN bamboo diplomacy unveiled. Deconstructing the bamboo diplomacy philosophy, it's about flexibility, resilience, and bending without breaking, prioritizing economic integration and collective regional stability over outright military alignment. Historical roots and evolution. How this approach emerged from the Cold War shadow, adapting to new great power competition and regional challenges. Key tenets in practice. Consensus building, non-interference, and a strong emphasis on dialogue through ASEAN-led mechanisms like the ASEAN Regional Forum and East Asia Summit. The economic imperative. ASEAN calculated pivot, the irresistible pull of Beijing's economic might. China is ASEAN's largest trading partner, offering massive infrastructure investments through the Belt and Road Initiative. Can ASEAN afford to alienate this economic behemoth? Washington's counter-offers and strategic investments, the U.S. Indo-Pacific Economic Framework for Prosperity and Increased Security Cooperation, aim to provide alternatives and bolster regional resilience. The delicate balancing act. Member states individually navigate these economic pressures, often prioritizing immediate benefits while attempting to maintain regional cohesion. Cracks in the bamboo, challenges to unity. Internal divisions and varying interests. Not all ASEAN members have the same direct stake or geopolitical calculus in the South China Sea, leading to difficulties in forming a unified front. The Cambodia and Laos factor. The influence of countries perceived to be more aligned with Beijing, potentially undermining ASEAN collective bargaining power and consensus-building efforts. External pressures and the risk of being caught in the middle. The constant push and pull from both Washington and Beijing, threatening to fragment ASEAN united stance and force difficult choices. Beyond diplomacy, what's next for the South China Sea? Scenarios for 2026 and beyond. From continued low-intensity friction to potential flashpoints, we analyze the likelihood of various outcomes in this critical region. The role of international law and arbitration. The 2016 Permanent Court of Arbitration ruling and implications, often acknowledged by some, but disregarded by others. ASEAN path forward. Can the bamboo diplomacy truly withstand mounting pressure, or will a new strategy be needed to secure regional stability and sovereignty in an increasingly contested maritime domain?